Nanes, a young boy who loves swimming, dives into the water, feeling completely connected to it. As he enjoys the sensation, Rin jumps in and challenges him to a race. Nanes easily wins, impressing his friends Makoto and Nagisa with his incredible speed. Even Rin admits that Nanes is really fast and asks if he would like to join a relay team for an upcoming tournament. However, Nanes refuses, explaining that he swims freestyle not to become faster but simply to experience the feeling of water with his whole body. Years later, Nanes is seen relaxing in his bathtub, wearing his swimsuit as he soaks in the water. He wishes to live a normal life, away from competitive swimming. Suddenly, Makoto enters his bathroom without knocking and finds it odd that Nanes is bathing in his swimsuit. Though Makoto's unexpected entry is unusual, Nanes' habit of wearing a swimsuit while bathing is even more strange. After breakfast, the boys head to school for their first day. On the way, Makoto mentions that they have been placed in the same class again. At school, a new teacher mistakenly assumes that Nanes is a girl because of his name, which sounds feminine. Later, as the boys head towards the rooftop, Nagisa unexpectedly appears in front of them. On the rooftop, Nanes tells Nagisa to stop calling him Haru, but Nagisa refuses. He then shares some surprising news: their elementary school will soon be shut down. The three friends decide to visit their old school to find a time capsule they buried years ago. As they search for the capsule, Nagisa tries to scare them with a story about how the school is haunted at night. While listening, they suddenly notice a shadowy figure following them. Cautiously, they move towards the swimming pool, only to realize that the figure is none other than their old friend, Rin Matsuoka. Makoto and Nagisa feel excited to see him again. But the moment between Rin and Nanes turns serious and competitive. Without hesitation, they both reveal that they are wearing swimsuits underneath their clothes, which doesn't surprise anyone. They prepare to race, but as they dive into the pool, they discover that it has been drained. Frustrated, Rin throws a trophy into the empty pool and walks away. The next morning, Nanes hopes that everything was just a dream, but Makoto assures him it was real. Later, Makoto and Nagisa get into trouble with their teachers for trespassing into the abandoned school building. Despite this, they remain curious about Rin and try to confirm whether he is really back. They search for his locker but accidentally open the locker belonging to his younger sister, Matsuoka Gu. Later, they meet Gu outside Nanes' house. She asks them to call her Ku instead of Gu. Makoto, surprised to see her there, asks why she came to Nanes' house. She explains that she wanted to ask about her brother, which confirms their suspicion Rin has returned from Australia. She also reveals that Rin is now attending Samezuka Academy, a well-known school for competitive swimming. Hearing this, the boys make a plan to take Nanes to Samezuka so he can swim in a bigger pool. Once they reach the school, Nanes is eager to jump into the water immediately, but Makoto and Nagisa stop him, telling him to wait until nighttime. As soon as night falls, Nanes wastes no time and dives into the pool. Seeing him, Nagisa also jumps in, but without his clothes on, and playfully pulls Makoto into the water while he is still fully dressed. Suddenly, Rin appears and questions what they are doing there. Nanes steps out of the pool and tells Rin to show him the skills he had displayed in the past. Rin agrees but warns him that things will be completely different this time. One night, Rin expresses his frustration, saying that he will never understand Nanes. As he asks Makoto to signal the start of their race, the competition begins. Later that night, Rin lies on his bed, feeling frustrated. He throws his phone aside and wonders if he will ever be able to defeat Nanes. Meanwhile, Nanes is seen calmly sitting in his bathtub, lost in thought. The next morning, their teacher scolds Nanes, Makoto, and Nagisa for sneaking into another school's swimming pool. Fortunately, the school decides not to make a big deal out of it and lets them go with a warning. Afterward, in the hallway, Makoto and Nagisa talk about what happened the previous night. As they walk, they run into Gu, who insists they call her Ku, but they ignore her request. The conversation shifts to Rin. Makoto and Nagisa mention how he acted cold towards them, refusing to even acknowledge their presence before jumping straight into the pool to race against Nanes. Gu then reveals that she was the one who texted Rin, which is why he showed up at the pool that night. Nagisa suddenly comes up with an idea: if they reopen their school's swimming pool, they might get to see Rin compete in tournaments. Excited about the idea, they ask Nanes for his opinion. Later, after taking a bath, Nanes dries himself off but accidentally makes Gu's clothes wet while stretching his arms. Nagisa then properly introduces Gu to Nanes, who calls her by her full name, Matsuoka Ku, causing her to blush. While Nanes prepares his dinner, Gu stumbles upon an old trophy that Rin had thrown away. Makoto explains that it was a prize they won when they were younger, but Rin no longer values it. Gu then shares something surprising. Rin used to visit home every New Year while living in Australia, a fact that shocks Makoto and Nagisa since Rin never told them about it. The following day, while eating lunch on the school rooftop, Nagisa excitedly shows an application form for reopening the pool. He suggests that they form a swimming club, and the trio decides to ask their teacher, Miss Amakata, to be their advisor. At first, she is hesitant, but she eventually agrees. However, there is a catch. They must repair the pool themselves before they can use it. Meanwhile, Gu travels to Samezuka to meet her brother and is astonished to see such hot guys getting out of water. Suddenly, a red-haired guy comes and asks if she is the one looking to see her brother. The guy also realizes that she is actually kind of cute. Gu then asks if they know Matsuoka Rin, but the guys reveal there is no one named Matsuoka Rin in their club. The following morning, without wasting time, the boys begin cleaning the pool area. They remove the weeds, fix the inside of the pool, and repair the surrounding fence. During this process, Nane surprises everyone with his hidden talent. He draws an impressive recruitment poster for the club, which his friends find amusing. Meanwhile, Nagisa actively tries to recruit new members but struggles to find anyone interested. He then asks Miss Amakata if she could help by wearing a swimsuit to attract attention, but she immediately refuses. As they continue repairing the pool, Gu asks Makoto why Nanace has been avoiding swimming lately. She then learns that in the race between Nanace and Rin, Rin was the one who won. However, Rin seems to have viewed that match differently, as if the outcome was not in his favor. Later, near an old swimming club building that is set to be demolished, Makoto speaks with their former coach, Sasabe. From him, Makoto finally learns that one day Sasabe was closing down the pool when Nanace and Rin arrived for a race, and obviously Nanace won the race, leaving Rin really disappointed. Listening to this, Makoto sends Rin a voicemail asking him to join their swimming club so they can take part in tournaments together. However, Rin has some other plans as he decides to join another team. The following day, the pool is finally all cleaned up, and seeing this, Nanace just jump right into it. One day, Nanace sneezes, and Nagisa suggests that Rin must be thinking about him. However, Makoto explains that the real reason is that Nanace swam in the recently renovated outdoor pool. Nanace, on the other hand, believes he might have caught a cold but then assumes that someone is talking about him. The rest of the team realizes that swimming outside in this weather is not a good idea, so they decide to pause their water training for a while and focus on land exercises instead. Meanwhile, something more exciting is happening. Rin has joined his school's swim team, which means they will now see him at competitions, just like they had hoped. However, there is one problem: their own team is still incomplete. They need 4 swimmers to compete, but they are one person short. Gu, who recently joined them, is only their manager and not a swimmer. Without 4 members, they cannot participate in any competitions. Luckily, they have noticed a boy on campus who wears glasses and keeps insisting that he has no interest in swimming. To Nagisa, this sounds like a fun challenge and tries to make this nerd-looking Rei Ryugazaki their 4th member, who also has an interest in Rei and wants to subscribe to his OnlyFans. She admires his strong arms as she is ready to make another pool. Seeing how athletic he is, both of them are convinced that Rei is the perfect person to complete their team. The gang is in a hurry to recruit him because they need an indoor pool for proper training. However, using an indoor pool requires money for a gym membership, and they don't have enough funds. The teacher tells them that they are a new club without any achievements, so getting financial support from the school is nearly impossible. Without a 4th swimmer, they cannot compete, and without competitions, they cannot prove themselves to get funding. Fortunately, Gu manages to strike a deal with the swim coach from Rin's school. The coach allows them to train in their pool, but there's a catch: they still need a complete team. This means they absolutely need Rei to join. Unfortunately, Rei has no interest in swimming at all. No matter how many times Nagisa asks him, he refuses. Rei believes in sports that require careful planning, strategy, and analysis. To him, swimming seems messy and unstructured, something he wants no part of. However, things take an unexpected turn when Rei participates in a track club meeting. He realizes that, despite all his calculations, his athletic abilities are not as great as he thought. This experience makes him reconsider his approach to sports. He finally agrees to attend the swim club's practice at Rin's school, but under one condition: he won't have to swim. When they arrive at the practice, the swim coach from Rin's school refuses to let Rei just stand by and watch. He insists that every swimmer must be in the water, so Rei has no choice but to change into swimwear and participate. Everyone expects him to at least give swimming a try. As Rei steps up to the pool, He prepares to dive in, determined to prove himself. But there's one crucial fact he never mentioned: he doesn't know how to swim. The moment he enters the water, he struggles and begins to sink. The team quickly rushes to help him, and he has to be pulled out of the pool. Embarrassed by his failure, Ray feels frustrated. He starts doubting himself and wonders if he should have joined at all. However, as he watches Nanes dive into the water effortlessly, he is completely mesmerized. The way Nanes moves through the water looks graceful, almost like an art form. Ray suddenly realizes that swimming isn't just about physical strength, it has beauty and skill. From a distance, Rin is also watching the practice. He, too, is paying attention to Nanes' incredible swimming technique. Meanwhile, Ray has a moment of clarity. He understands that swimming is not as chaotic as he once thought. There is precision, discipline, and an art to it that he never noticed before. With this new perspective, Ray makes an important decision. He approaches the swim team and confidently declares that he wants to join for real. He is no longer just a provisional member, he is ready to learn how to swim. But more than that, he wants to swim just like Nanes. And so, the Iwatobi Swim Club finally has its 4th member. Now, they can fully focus on their training and prepare for upcoming competitions. After a few days, Nanes stands in front of a mirror trying to pick out a swimsuit. Oddly, all the swimsuits look almost the same, making it hard for him to choose. At the same time, Gu happily tells the team that the weather is finally warm enough for the boys to swim in the pool they worked hard to fix a few months ago. But there's a big issue: Ray still doesn't know how to swim. Ray has been trying really hard to learn. He has studied swimming techniques, memorized all the strokes, and even practiced the movements on dry land. But every time he gets in the water, he just sinks to the bottom. The team realizes they need to change their training plans and focus on helping Ray learn to swim in just 1 week. While the Iwatobi team is busy with their challenge, Rin is pushing himself harder than ever. He remembers racing against Nanes at their old club when Nanes wasn't at his best, and this thought really bothers him. Rin wants to have a fair race where both of them can show their true skills. He is also thinking about an important question: is winning all about natural talent, or is hard work more important? He isn't sure what the answer is. Back at Iwatobi, the team is determined to find out why Ray can't stay afloat. They come up with different ideas. Some think he might be overwhelmed from studying too much, while others believe he just needs better guidance. They even ask their old coach and Nanes to help train him, but both say no. In the end, Ray decides that the problem must be his swimsuit. He tells himself that getting the right swimsuit will fix everything, so he decides to buy a new one. The whole team goes shopping with Ray. At first, Gu is excited to be around so many strong athletes, but her excitement fades when Ray takes a long time to decide. Feeling bored, she steps outside for some fresh air and unexpectedly runs into the captain of Rin's swim team. This makes her realize that her brother must be nearby. Meanwhile, inside the store, Nanes and Rin bump into each other. They are both surprised to see one another, but instead of making a scene, they quietly go outside to talk. Rin asks Nanes why he didn't train properly before their last race. Nanes, however, won't make excuses and insists that Rin's win was real, no matter what happened. Their conversation gets tense when Rin, feeling frustrated, grabs Nanes to stop him from leaving. It's clear that their past race as kids still affects them both. Rin really wants to prove himself against Nanes in a fair race, while Nanes is worried about going through the painful memories of their childhood. In the end, they seem to come to an agreement. They will both train hard and face each other again in the future. Back at the pool, Ray is excited to try out his new swimsuit and goggles. He jumps in confidently, but it quickly becomes obvious that his new gear doesn't help at all. He still sinks. Seeing this, Nanes steps up and decides to give Ray swimming lessons. The team watches as Nanes carefully shows him the right techniques. A training montage shows Ray working hard, but no matter how much effort he puts in, he still has a hard time. Feeling frustrated and down, he steps away from the group to be by himself. To his surprise, Nanes follows him. Even though Nanes isn't the best at giving advice, he tries to cheer Ray up. While their talk doesn't fix everything, it helps both of them see that they have their own challenges with swimming. This shared understanding gives Ray a new boost of determination. Feeling inspired, Ray decides to give it one last shot. Later, the group sees someone practicing alone in the pool expecting Nanes, but it was the nerd Chad Ray. After so many failures, something finally clicks for him. He successfully performs the butterfly stroke. The Iwatobi swim team is preparing for an important event called the Prefectural Tournament. Everyone is excited because doing well could bring in more funding for the team in the future. Nanace and Rin, two of the team members, also have a personal rivalry to settle during this competition. The team understands that they need to train harder than ever to get ready. Gu, who helps manage the team, comes up with a clever idea to get everyone fit. She finds an old training plan from the previous swim club at Iwatobi High School. This plan involves swimming between 4 small, empty islands in the ocean. Even though the last swim club didn't perform well, they finished 6th in their last tournament. The team decides to give it a shot. Each member has a different reaction. Nagisa is really excited, Rei feels a bit anxious, and Nanace seems indifferent as usual. However, Makoto's reaction is the most surprising. He smiles and agrees to the plan, but it's clear that the ocean makes him uneasy. Nanace notices this and seems to know something about Makoto's past that the others aren't aware of. The team faces a major issue. They don't have much money. Just like before, their budget is a problem. Makoto, the leader of the team, suggests they save money by camping instead of staying in hotels. This way, they can avoid paying for rooms and meals. For getting to the islands, they come up with a smart idea. They contact their former swim coach, Sasabe, who now has a squid fishing boat and a license to operate it. He agrees to help them reach the islands. When the team arrives at the first island, they discover that Rin's swim team is already there. Rin's team is training in a nice indoor swimming pool. Nanace wants to keep things peaceful with Rin, so he suggests they steer clear of them. However, Gu accidentally bumps into her brother Rin later, and they share a brief, friendly moment. It seems that Rin will let the Iwatobi team focus on their ocean training without interference. Before he leaves, though, Rin asks Gu how Makoto feels about swimming in the ocean. Gu is confused by the question, but it hints that there's more to Makoto's background. The Iwatobi team begins their new training routine, but it turns out to be tougher than they thought. On the first day, they only manage to complete half of their workouts. Although none of them are in great shape, Rei has the hardest time, since he is still learning to swim properly. He relies on a kickboard to help him stay afloat. Sadly, even with the kickboard, he struggles to keep up with the rest of the team. That night, the team sets up tents to sleep on the island, while Gu and Amakata-sensei, their teacher, choose to stay in a nearby lodge to escape the bad weather. Feeling guilty about slowing the team down, Rei decides to sneak out of the tent he shares with Makoto to practice swimming by himself at night. This choice turns out to be a very risky one. Swimming alone in the dark can be dangerous, and things quickly take a turn for the worse when a storm suddenly hits. The sea becomes very rough, and Rei loses his kickboard in the chaos. He finds himself struggling to stay above the water as the waves crash around him, making it a terrifying experience. At the same time, Makoto wakes up and notices that Rei is not in the tent. He goes outside and sees that it is raining a lot. In the distance, he spots Rei in the water, struggling to keep his head above the waves. One night, Nagisa and Nanace wake up to hear Makoto yelling for Rei. When they look outside, they see both Makoto and Rei struggling in the ocean. The storm is getting worse, but Nanace doesn't think twice. He jumps into the water to save them. He tells Nagisa to get Amakata-sensei for help, but Nagisa refuses to leave and jumps in after him. Now, all 4 of them are stuck in the dangerous ocean as the storm continues to rage. Makoto reaches Rei first, but when he sees Rei having trouble staying above the water, fear takes over him. He becomes completely frozen, unable to move or think. His fear of the ocean is so strong that instead of helping Rei, he starts to sink himself. Nanace quickly grabs Makoto and swims toward a small, empty island nearby, making sure his friend don't drown. Meanwhile, Nagisa concentrates on helping Rei. On the island, Nanace lays Makoto down on the sand, but Makoto is hardly breathing. Nanace feels panic as he kneels next to him. His hands tremble as he gets ready to perform CPR. Just before their lips touch, Makoto suddenly coughs up water and gasps for air. He's alive, but he looks ashamed. He feels embarrassed that his fear almost cost him his life. Meanwhile, Rei is feeling similar emotions on another part of the island. He apologizes to Nagisa, feeling guilty for putting everyone in danger. After some time, the 4 of them finally regroup. They exchange apologies and decide they need to find shelter since it's still raining, and they can't stay exposed. Fortunately, they see an old, abandoned building nearby. However, the building looks creepy, much scarier than the abandoned swim club that had scared Makoto earlier. But they have no choice, so they decide to go inside. They were relieved to find that the lighthouse wasn't as scary as it looked from the outside. It was dry inside, there was some leftover food, and there were no ghosts or strange creatures to frighten them. While they waited for the rain to stop, Nagisa suggested they play a game like Truth or Dare to keep busy. At first, the game was fun, with everyone sharing funny stories from their childhood. But when it was Makoto's turn, the mood changed. Ray asked him about what happened to him in the ocean earlier. Before Makoto could answer, Nanes quickly said they didn't need to talk about it. But Makoto shook his head. He wanted his friends to know. Taking a deep breath, Makoto began to share his story. When he was a child, he had made friends with an old fisherman in a town his family visited every summer. The fisherman was kind and taught Makoto a lot about the sea. However, one day during a typhoon, the fisherman's boat was flipped over by huge waves, and he drowned. Makoto was heartbroken. The hardest part for him was realizing that the boat was only 3 kilometers from shore, about the same distance they swim and practice every day. Even though that distance seemed short, the ocean had taken the man's life. Since then, Makoto has been very afraid of the sea. His story leaves Nagisa and Ray without words. Nagisa then asks why, if he was so scared of the ocean, he decided to join the training camp. Makoto smiles gently and looks at his friends. He explains that when he is with them, he feels like they can accomplish anything together. No matter where they are, as long as they are together, he feels safe. His words touch everyone, and the heavy mood shifts to something warm and comforting. By morning, the storm has passed, and the ocean is calm again. The boys swim back to shore, completely worn out. Just as they collapse on the sand, Gu and the teacher arrive, ready to start the day, only to see their team tired and sleeping on the shore. The Iwatobi swim team is finishing up their training. Tomorrow is the regional tournament, and everyone is excited and full of energy. Gu suggests that they should find a professional coach to help them get better just before the competition. But Nanes quickly says no to this idea. The rest of the team notices that Nanes is only thinking about one thing: his rematch with Rin in the regional meet. On the other hand, Rin is also getting ready for the big race in his own way. The thought of facing Nanes again is making him feel anxious. He even has strange and unsettling dreams about Nanes. However, Nanes isn't the only one who shows up in Rin's dreams. He also dreams about his father when he was a child. Viewers might remember seeing Rin's father in an old picture from the Iwatobi Swim Club earlier in the series. Nitori, who shares a room with Rin and swims on the same team, notices that Rin is acting strangely. During practice, Nitori asks Rin why he signed up for the 100-meter freestyle event, especially since it's not his best event. Rin tries to dodge the question, but Nitori already knows the answer. He realizes that Rin chose to swim in this event just because Nanes will be competing in it. Later that night, after practice, Nitori brings up the topic of the regional competition again. He doesn't understand why Rin is so focused on racing against Nanes. He wonders why Rin is going to such lengths for just one race. As their talk goes on, Rin starts to share more about his past. His father was a very skilled swimmer who, like Rin, dreamed of becoming an Olympic athlete. But life took a different turn for him. He got married, had a family, and eventually became a fisherman. Sadly, he died in a typhoon, which might be the same storm Makoto mentioned before. Now, Rin feels it's his responsibility to achieve the dream his father couldn't. But before he can chase that dream, he believes he needs to do one thing: beat Nanes. After hearing this, Nitori finally realizes why Rin is so focused on winning against Nanes. It's not just about competition, it goes much deeper than that. The day of the regional tournament finally comes. The Iwatobi team gathers and gets ready for the competition. Meanwhile, Rin takes a moment to visit his father's grave by himself before heading to the event. The first race of the day is the freestyle event. Nanes and Rin are next to each other in their lanes, prepared for the most important race of their lives. The tension in the air is high. Both have trained hard for this moment. When the whistle blows, they jump into the pool. The race is very close, and both swimmers give it their all. As they near the finish line, Rin pulls ahead and wins the race. Unfortunately, Nanes does not qualify for the next round and is out of the competition. After the race, Rin climbs out of the pool and looks at Nanes with a serious face. He has just one thing to say: this will be the last time he swims alongside Nanes. During a swimming competition, Nanes suddenly goes missing after losing to Rin in the freestyle race. His teammates, Makoto, Nagisa, and Ray, are puzzled and worried about him. They know Nanes doesn't care much about winning or losing, so they can't understand why this loss affects him so deeply. What they don't realize is that before the race, Rin told Nanes he would never swim with him again. This hurt Nanes a lot, but he keeps his feelings hidden. Later, their coach, Sasabe, arrives at the tournament. Makoto, Ray, and Nagisa start searching for Nanes. Instead of finding him first, they bump into Rin in the hallway of the swimming complex. Rin is still feeling good about his win and is even happier to hear that Nanes is upset about losing. He thinks Nanes is sad because of the loss, but Makoto quickly sets him straight. Looking right at Rin, Makoto explains that Nanes' feelings aren't about winning or losing. This surprises Rin and leaves him confused. Without saying much, he walks away, feeling frustrated. The Iwatobi team decides to let Nanes take his time to handle his feelings while they focus on their own races. Unfortunately, things don't go well for them either. One by one, they compete in their events, but none of them make it to the finals. Even though they keep losing, the whole team, along with their coach, Gu, and their teacher, Amakata-sensei, supports each other. They cheer loudly and motivate one another, showing strong team spirit despite their setbacks. Even though they agreed to leave Nanes alone, Nagisa is determined to bring him back. He looks for Nanes and persuades him to at least watch their races. Nanes doesn't sit with them on the benches, but he stands a bit away and watches them compete. As he sees them swim with passion and determination, something inside him starts to change. Even though they keep losing, they don't give up, and this seems to impress him. At the end of the day, the team comes together again, but Nanes is missing. That's when Gu surprises everyone with some big news. She secretly signed them up for a relay race the next day. If they do well in the relay, they still have a chance to reach the finals. The team is shocked by this news, but they quickly realize this is their last chance to compete. The only issue is that they can't find Nanes to tell him about it. That evening, Nagisa, Rei, Makoto, and Gu wait outside Nanes' house, hoping to talk to him. Hours go by, and it gets late, but Nanes still doesn't come home. Eventually, Makoto falls asleep by Nanes' front door, holding Nanes' phone. Before he drifts off, he and the others leave a voicemail for Nanes. In the message, they explain about the relay race and encourage him to join them. Their message is cheerful and full of support, trying to remind Nanes that they are all a team. When Nanes finally gets home, he sees Makoto sleeping by the door. He picks up his phone and listens to the voicemail from his friends. Their message really touches him. For the first time since his defeat, he feels like he belongs and is motivated again. When Makoto wakes up, he is surprised to find Nanes standing there, already dressed and ready to take part in the relay. The next day, the Iwatobi team comes together at the tournament, excited to do their best. On the other hand, Rin feels different. His earlier joy has disappeared, and he is lost in thought. He starts to remember the times he swam with the Iwatobi team. The realization that Nanes didn't seem to mind losing makes Rin question everything he believed. While Rin is still trying to figure out his feelings, his teammate Natori comes up to him with some surprising news. The Iwatobi team is going to compete in the relay race. Rin is shocked and quickly heads to the pool to watch. As the race starts, he pays close attention to each swimmer. He instantly recognizes Makoto's style, remembering how they trained together when they were younger. Nagisa's swimming is also familiar, bringing back even more memories. However, when it's Rei's turn, Rin feels frustrated. Rei's butterfly stroke isn't great, and it bothers Rin to see him struggle so much. At last, it's Nanes' turn to swim. As he gets ready on the starting block, he looks straight at Rin. Rin watches the Iwatobi team swim and memories of their childhood together flood his mind. He recalls the times when he was part of the team, sharing laughter and winning moments with them. As the race comes to an end, Nanes dives into the water, giving it his all to finish in first place. The team celebrates their first big win and secures a chance to compete at nationals. Back at school, everyone recognizes their achievement, and excitement fills the air. The team is thrilled not just for their victory, but also because the school has promised to give them more funding. However, Gu reminds them not to get carried away. There's still a long way to go, and they need to prepare for the tough challenges ahead. Her words motivate everyone to work even harder, but Nanes seems a bit off. He doesn't share the same happiness as the others. His recent loss to Rin weighs on his mind, making him doubt his own skills. At the same time, Rin feels a bit uneasy. Winning against Nanes in the race made him happy at first, but that happiness is starting to fade. He feels like something is missing. To cheer him up, his teammates decide to take him to a local festival, thinking it will help him relax before the nationals. Meanwhile, Makoto and Nagisa have a similar idea. They take Nanes to the same festival, hoping the fun atmosphere will help him forget his worries, even if just for a little while. However, things get complicated when Nagisa and Rei spot Rin in the crowd. They worry that if Nanes sees him, it might make him feel worse, so they come up with a plan. Rei quietly follows Rin to keep track of where he goes, while Nagisa stays with Nanes to make sure he doesn't bump into Rin. Their plan works for a bit, but then Rin suddenly leaves the festival and heads toward their old elementary school. Rin walks to the old swimming pool where he used to train with his childhood friends. Seeing the familiar spot brings up a lot of feelings for him. He feels lonely and realizes that things have changed. Ray, who has been watching Rin, notices his sadness but loses sight of him when Rin suddenly runs away. Meanwhile, at the festival, Nane starts to feel that something is off. He sees that Nagisa is acting a bit strange and asks her what's going on. Eventually, Nagisa tells him that Rin is close by. Instead of getting upset, Nanes reacts in a way they didn't expect. He stays calm and thinks about it. Nanes then shares his feelings with Nagisa. He talks about how, when he first realized he would never swim with Rin again, it made him question why he even swims at all. He had never thought about it before, but seeing his team working so hard at the competition helped him understand something important. He swims not just because he enjoys it or because of Rin, but because being part of a team and sharing those experiences brings him real happiness. Now, he knows that this is the true reason he swims. The next day, Gu surprises the team with some news. She tells them that her brother, Rin, has signed up for the relay competition at the Nationals. This means that Nanes' past and present are coming together, his old dream of swimming with Rin and his new passion for being part of the Iwatobi team. Back to when Rin first joined Iwatobi's elementary school. It was his first day, but he had already met Nanes and Makoto at swimming competitions before. Rin was really happy to be at Iwatobi and excited to swim with new friends. However, Nanes didn't seem very happy about Rin being there. One reason was Rin's constant requests for Nanes and Makoto to join him in a relay race at the next swimming competition. But Nanes wasn't interested. He kept saying he only swam freestyle and didn't want to do a relay. Even though Nanes seemed a bit distant at first, Rin's presence began to change that. After watching Rin swim, Nanes felt inspired to train harder. At the same time, Rin became more curious about Nanes' unique swimming style. He often asked Makoto why Nanes only swam freestyle, but he didn't believe it was just because Nanes felt more comfortable that way. As time went on, the three boys developed a strong friendship. Then, Rin suddenly announced that he would be moving to Australia at the end of the school year. This news shocked Nanes, Makoto, and their other friends. In the present, the Iwatobi team is training hard under their new coach, Sasabe. His training style is tough, but the team is getting better. However, Ray is increasingly worried about Nanes. Ever since Nanes lost to Rin, he seems different. He is overly focused on swimming, but it doesn't seem healthy. Ray is also dealing with his own thoughts. After seeing Rin emotional at their old elementary school, he's been curious about Rin's relationship with Nanes, Makoto, and the rest of the team. The situation changes when the team goes to Coach Sasabe's house for a special hot pot dinner. Even though it's summer, they all sit together and enjoy the meal, feeling like a true team. While there, Gu discovers an old photo album filled with pictures of the Iwatobi team from their elementary school days. As Ray looks through the album, he starts to feel more troubled. He realizes there are many things about Rin and their past that he doesn't fully understand. This feeling lingers even after they leave Coach Sasabe's house. As they walk home, Ray finally decides to speak up. He stops the group and asks a serious question. If he is really part of the team like everyone else, why doesn't he know what happened with Rin in the past? He wants to understand everything, just like the others do. Instead of being upset, Nanes and the rest of the team look pleased. They realize that Ray feels like he truly belongs with them now. Seeing that Ray is ready to hear the truth, Nanes starts to share the whole story. He explains that when they were kids, Rin was very passionate about swimming in relays with them. His dream was not just for himself. He wanted to do it because his father had done the same when he was young and went to Iwatobi. Later, when Rin moved to Australia, he came back to Japan and challenged Nanes to a race. But when Rin lost, he said something that changed everything. He told Nanes that losing to him meant he would never swim again. This painful moment is why Nanes stopped swimming with the team. Ray listens closely to everything Nanes shares, and while the story answers many of his questions, he still feels like there's more he needs to know. The next day, instead of going to swim practice with his team, he decides to do something different. He goes to Samezuka Academy, determined to find Rin and talk to him directly. After he asks to see Rin, he finally comes outside. The two of them stand face to face, ready for an important talk. Ray and Rin's talk is serious and straightforward. There's no small talk or waiting around. Ray jumps right in with two important questions. Why did Rin join the relay? And what does Nanes mean to him? The answers he got from Nanes and the others weren't enough for him. He wants to hear Rin's side of things. Ray carefully shares everything he has noticed and heard, using clear reasoning and facts to explain the situation. His words strike Rin hard because they are too true to ignore. The tension between them quickly builds, and for a moment, it looks like they might end up in a fight. But before things get too heated, they both take a step back, ending the conversation before it goes too far. Back at Iwatobi, the swim team wraps up their practice. Ray isn't there, and many of his teammates wonder if he is feeling unwell. Coach Sasabe notices his absence and gives the team some money to buy a small gift for Ray to cheer him up. They decide to go to his apartment to check on him. When they get there, it becomes clear that Ray isn't sick at all. Nagisa, who can't keep secrets for long, accidentally reveals that Ray probably skipped practice to talk to Rin. Nanes then asks Ray directly if that's where he went, leaving him no choice but to confess. However, the team isn't angry with him. Ray tells them that he has stopped worrying about Rin and that the talk helped him feel at peace. The rest of the team is glad to hear this. They remind Ray that he is an important part of their team, and this means a lot to him. It reassures him that he truly belongs with them. While Ray is feeling more confident, Rin is having a tough time. His talk with Ray has left him feeling unsettled. He is so focused on Nanes and the Iwatobi team that it's affecting his relationship with his own teammates. His swimming is also getting worse, and the Samezuka swim coach has started to notice that something isn't right. Even with these issues, time keeps moving, and the next big swimming competition is coming up fast. Teams from different schools are heading to their hotels to get ready for the tournament the next day. Each swimmer prepares in their own way. Later that night, when things are quiet, Ray gets a surprise text. It's from Rin asking to meet again. Even though Ray thinks he has found the answers he needed, Rin still has something to share. When they meet, Rin shares something he has never said before. He tells Ray that losing to Nanes in middle school wasn't the real reason he stopped swimming. After moving to Australia, he tried to compete, but without his Iwatobi teammates, something felt off. Even though he worked hard, he couldn't swim as well as he used to. He realized that the relay race he did with Nanes, Makoto, and Nagisa changed everything for him. That experience made it hard for him to enjoy swimming with another team or alone. But when Rin came back to Japan and raced against Nanes again, something inside him sparked back to life. Competing with Nanes reminded him of his love for swimming and gave him back the motivation he had lost. This talk helps Ray understand Rin better, and even though it doesn't solve everything, it brings him some clarity. After his conversation with Ray, Rin goes back to his team's hotel, but he is met with surprising news. The Samezuka coach calls him over and tells him something that shocks him. Rin has been taken off the relay team. His recent poor performance and lack of focus have made him a weak link, and the team can't risk that. Rin stands there, frozen, unable to believe what he just heard. A few years back, Rin, Nanes, Nagisa, and Makoto were in elementary school. They often looked at a cherry blossom tree near their school, even though it hadn't bloomed yet. The tree was surrounded by bricks, and each brick had a message from a student. Rin wrote, "For the team," on his brick. This memory meant a lot to them. Now, both the Samezuka and Iwatobi swim teams have come to the place for their big competition. The Iwatobi team is excited and amazed by the large venue. They feel hopeful and confident about the event. But Rin feels completely different. He is still shocked after finding out that he has been taken off the relay team. No matter how much Natori tries to lift his spirits, Rin remains upset and distant. When it's time for Rin to compete in the freestyle race, his feelings really affect how he swims. He performs poorly, leaving everyone watching in shock. He even has a hard time getting out of the pool afterward. The Iwatobi team quickly gets up to look for him because they are worried about what's wrong. When they find Rin, he is arguing with Natori. Rin is very angry, and Natori is trying to calm him down. Suddenly, Rin yells that he is quitting swimming and walks away. Everyone is stunned. Not only do they find out that Rin is no longer on the relay team, but they also hear him say the same words he said back in middle school, words that once made Nanes stop swimming. Nanes looks shaken, just like he did after losing to Rin in an earlier race. It's clear that he isn't in the right state of mind to compete either. Nagisa and Makoto find it hard to understand what's happening. Nanes looks confused too. Seeing their reactions, Ray decides to speak up. He tells the group everything Rin had shared with him the night before. He explains why Rin really stopped swimming. Ray reveals that deep down, Rin just wants to swim with the Iwatobi team again. Ray understands this feeling because he feels the same way. He then suggests that they need to find Rin before the relay starts. The team quickly splits up to look for him. Nanes is the first to find Rin. He sees Rin standing by a tree that looks a lot like the one they admired when they were kids. Nanes had noticed this tree earlier that morning. When Nanes tries to talk to Rin, he gets angry and almost hits Nanes, leading to a brief struggle between them. But then, Rin notices something written in the dirt in front of the tree. The words say, "For the team." Nanes had written that earlier in the day while thinking about their childhood. Seeing those words changes Rin's feelings completely. His anger disappears, and he starts to feel emotional. He realizes that what he really wants is to be part of a team again, But not just any team, he wants to be with the friends he had a strong connection with. At that moment, Nanes tells Rin that the Iwatobi team has been looking for him for this reason. They want him to be part of the team again. The Iwatobi team comes back to the arena just in time for the relay. Their coach, Gu, and Amikata-sensei watch nervously from the stands. Nekoto swims first, followed by Nagisa. When it's supposed to be Rei's turn, something surprising happens. Instead of Rei, Rin steps up to join the relay while Rei watches from the stands. Nane swims last. The team gives it their all, and in the end, they win first place. Later on, they find out that they have been disqualified. This is because making changes to the team like that isn't allowed in professional swimming. But the Iwatobi boys don't mind the disqualification. To them, it doesn't really matter. What really counts is that Rin was able to swim with them again. More importantly, they got their childhood friend back. That's it for today, my fellow men of culture. Like and subscribe the channel for more plot-filled recaps.